And I do believe we are live. Hello, and welcome to Gentleman's Guide to Gaming, and another character creation session. I know, that's right, one day after another we create different characters. We're not doing this every single day, I'm not made of time. But thankfully, we've got another person who has signed up to have a character created for one of their games. In fact, this is a game I'm running over on my Discord. I've got a Discord channel. I don't advertise its address. That only goes out to backers of my Patreon. But if you back my Patreon, come on over to the Discord, play some games. Obviously, you've got to back at the right tier to play some games as well. There's all sorts of small print like that. But anyway, Patreon is linked below, and if you back the Patreon, you'll gain access to the Discord, and if you back the Patreon at the right level, you get to play in games with me running them. I guess I could play them if you particularly want to run a game for me. I can make videos at your request, that kind of thing. You know, it's a way of subsidizing the old role-playing writing income. Hello, Falani. Good to see you today. And today, as you can see, we are making a Call of Cthulhu 7th edition character. Now, this is for a campaign that is already in progress. This player is joining partway through. And the characters that we already have represented, we have a female investigator dilettante, comes from Money. We have a bootlegging sort of roughneck in the form of John Dakota, that's his name. And we also have a retired British Army officer from the Great War. This is 1920s era Cthulhu. And this new player has expressed a few disparate interests. We have got things like he's interested in spell casting, and I have explained that in most games of Call of Cthulhu, when you start casting spells is when your character kind of starts teetering and sliding down the steep slope toward insanity, so we may not be there right, but clearly interested in the esoteric makes sense. He has also expressed an interest in playing a bounty hunter or an assassin. And again, I have explained that in most games of Call of Cthulhu, you start off as pretty mundane people, and the morally dark, grey, and black characters are the antagonists. And I certainly don't mean to dampen the player's intentions or spirit by saying this, by basically saying all the fun classes, all the fun professions like esoteric, master of the occult, assassins, and bounty hunters are off the table. But I think these are the kinds of things you build towards in a game of Call of Cthulhu as you start losing your grip on mundanity, normal life. Much like as in Vampire, you're not going to be wondering about kindred society when you're immortal. And let's see, John Bartell says, shall I watch Matthew live or listen to the wrestling-themed Onyx Path episode? Talk about a difficult choice.
Yeah, difficult choices, difficult choices. Do you listen to me over on the Onyx Pathcast, or do you watch me here on YouTube? Yeah.
Well, we're not making a wrestling character today, although I suppose this could be a wrestler. The other aspect of Alexander's character is he wants an archaeologist. And someone who is interested in finding artifacts, analysing them, and maybe that will be this character's route into the magic, the occultism of Call of Cthulhu. So we've got a few disparate ideas. I don't think they're all necessarily going to mesh, because who ever heard of an archaeologist, assassin, bounty hunter who is also a spellcaster? I guess in Call of Cthulhu is possible. But that is the kind of thing that comes later down the line through character development more than a character you start off with. So, we're going to be starting right from the start, and I think the core concept that we have in mind, this idea of having an archaeologist makes perfect sense. Someone who is interested in Egyptology, given that this is the 1920s, Egyptology was very much on the rise, makes a lot of sense as well. This campaign is set in Britain, so you have the British Museum, can quite easily be some kind of curator or archaeologist who is paid for by the British Museum to find artifacts and snatch them back and put them in the British Museum, which is the British way. So, I say that with no pride whatsoever, honestly. So we've got that sort of Tomb Raider concept. Now, how to work in the idea of bounty hunting, being an assassin, I think rather than him being an assassin, we don't want a murderous player character because it very quickly means you don't feel the horror of encountering things like cultists. But bounty hunting, how would you be a bounty hunting archaeologist? Maybe if you started off as an archaeologist, perfectly reputable, you've got your degree, you work for a university or you work for the British Museum, and perhaps you decide the money there isn't good enough. Or maybe someone comes to you one day and says, I understand you know how to get things. And the archaeologist says, I do know how to get things, yes. And I'm very good at getting things. I have a team that gets things for me. And, well, we want your services in particular, says this anonymous benefactor. We're going to pay you very, very well to find this thing and return it to me. It will not be going in a museum. It will not be going on display. It will be mine. And this is all off the books. Usually you have to declare fines to the national government under which you dig them. I mean, rules are certainly less stringent in the 1920s than they are today. But in this case, someone recruited him to be an archaeologist bounty hunter. Or, as Duzel Zanouf said, a treasure hunter. And Blind Idiot God, welcome back. Thank you very much for tuning in again for another character creation session. So we have in mind now an archaeologist who's gone a bit rogue. That sounds a bit silly, I know, on paper, but it's an archaeologist who at one point was reputable, was working for universities, was working to chronicle history, but is now basically snatching treasures, robbing tombs for well-paying benefactors. So we have someone with a few edges, and so the last thing was the player wanted a character who was interested in spellcasting and the occult. I think we can kind of tip him or her, them, onto the edge of that at the end of character creation, essentially. Maybe the last artifact they recovered opened their eyes a little. It was something that they couldn't describe. It wasn't just some gold necklace or some precious jewel. This was an artifact of Lovecraftian mythos, Cthulhu mythos, essentially. And this can then tie them into the ongoing campaign, which is largely to do with the Brotherhood of the Yellow Sign, Hasta, King in Yellow, all of that. So let's get on to character creation itself. Now, I will leave the name, I'll put the name in as Alexander. And occupation, we're going to call him a rogue archaeologist. Age, okay, everybody, what age do you think Alexander the rogue archaeologist should be? Because I think a lot of the time people picture archaeologists in the 1920s being stuffy old professors, thick with mustaches, and they don't have to be, of course. They can be young, they can be Indiana Jones style. So what do you think? Middle age, around 40, says Feilani. I think we'll go for male, just because the player hasn't specified one way or another, and typically if the player hasn't specified, I tend to match the character's gender to the players, just to ensure that they're not going to feel awkward playing an other gender. I think there's nothing wrong with playing genders that aren't your own. Same with ethnicities, cultures, sexualities, all kinds of things, but unless the player specifies, I don't like to push them into something they may be uncomfortable playing. So Feilani says needs time for all that experience, whereas John Bartel says early 30s, Yo Fett specifies 32. I think 32 is a good age. Let's go for 32. Residence. We're going to go for, I think London makes sense. And because I don't know the player's capacity for accents, we will also go London. Hello, Polyester. So, we now have characteristics. Characteristics in Call of Cthulhu are randomly rolled. 3d6, and each characteristic, four characteristics are rolled one way, another 4 are rolled the other. So first of all we have strength, which is roll 3d6 multiplied by 5, generate the strength characteristic. Now what I'm going to say is these characteristics, hello Mark, yeah I am on early, this is the only time I have to do this today. we can roll 3d6, multiply by 5, but I don't like to... I'm not a harsh keeper of Call of Cthulhu. I don't say the first thing you roll is what you have to keep. Basically, all of the 3d6 times 5 results I find you can change around to actually suit your character concept, because it doesn't make sense to have a archaeologist with strength 90 and education 30 as an example. The Keeper rulebook is really good. It's all you need, to be honest. The Investigator Handbook gives you lots of additional equipment and professions and so on, but I think the Keeper rulebook is all you need to start off playing Call of Cthulhu. I've linked it below, in fact, if people are interested. So our first result on 3d6 is 5, 8. So 8 times 5, and so that is going to be 40. Look at that auto-calculator. We then get to do Constitution, which is their hardiness, their health, their vigour. So we're going to do 3d6 times 5 again. This one's going to be 5, 9, so that's going to be 45. So far, below average, but that works. That works for an archaeologist. They don't have to be physically robust. Then we have size. Size is 2d6 plus 6 multiplied by 5, because size, it doesn't really benefit you unless you wish to take some kind of disadvantage to be below average size. So 2d6, wow, okay, this is a big guy right now. We've got a 10 plus 6, so that's going to be 16 times 5. I believe that will make 80? Yeah. So mathematics has never been my strong suit. Dexterity is another 3d6 times 5. So we've currently got a 9, 11, 55 in dex. Appearance is 3d6 times 5 again. So this one is actually a really nice rating. And we have next Intelligence, 2d6 plus 6. This benefits the guy. We've got another 80 in Intelligence. Now we have... that Intelligence is like Wisdom in D&D. It's more your common sense, your hobby skills, things like that. Your reasoning power, rather than Education, which informs things like the number of skill points you end up with. So Power is 3d6 times 5. Power determines things like Sanity, your spellcasting ability. And thankfully, he rolled well. And I say thankfully because this player is very interested in playing this kind of character. So... Power, good, and then we finish with Education, 2d6 plus 6, and I've seen better, so that's going to be 7, 13, so we have another 65 there. That's actually not a bad spread for an archaeologist, you know. I mean, I might, in terms of the 2d6 plus 6, swap Intelligence and Education. It really depends on whether we see this guy being more self-taught or whether we see him being university educated. What do all of you think? If we think he's more of a self-taught, common sense, speaks to the locals, their language, that kind of thing, I would suggest keeping the 80 in Intelligence. Because he has common sense, quick wits. If you think he's more scholarly, academic, we can put the 80 in Education, move 65 to Intelligence instead. I think what's interesting is the fact that we've got his strength pretty low, and his con isn't great, but 45 is okay. His size is, well, pretty epic right now. That can count as weight, it can count as height. Basically, it means he is imposing. Yeah, he's a bit gaunt, but size also impacts things like the number of hit points you have. So, well, size and con will affect that. So I think having a size of 80 actually makes for a really interesting character and makes them stand out. Is that we can have him being an Ichabod Crane kind of a archaeologist. Self-taught might tie in why he wants to dabble into the Cthulhu mythos, says Bundle of Atoms. I agree. Is the player interested in playing a bookworm? No, I think he's more an adventurous archaeologist than a study at the desk type. Rogue in his profession, so feels more self-taught to me, says Cloud64. I agree. I think, you know what, this is the first time I've ever created a Call of Cthulhu character where I think I will leave the stats exactly where they are. I think that actually works for me. So, as you can see, this is a pre-populated character sheet. So, maybe he did have a Museum Connect Duzerl, and he lost it because, well, he prefers living on the wild side, dealing in black market archaeology, which I'm sure exists. Well, it does exist. So yeah, as this is a auto-calculating character sheet, which you can download from the Chaosium website, so all you have to do is type in Call of Cthulhu 7th edition character sheet and you'll find it into Google. We can see that his hit points have been calculated automatically. We can see that his sanity has been calculated automatically. His magic points, which don't really play into things unless you start learning spells, of course. Now his luck. Luck is 3d6 times 5. Luck is one of my favourite things in Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. I mean, it's not exactly a revolutionary system. Wow, this guy has got a lot of luck. I just rolled a 6, a 5, and a 4. So he's got 15. 15 times 5 is... what? 75, I think? Now I'm testing myself. 15 times 5, 60. Yeah, 75. So luck is a really fun trait because you can spend a luck point to get a reroll, but then in your reroll, if you fail, it's basically a catastrophic failure. Whereas you can also spend luck wholesale to reduce a die roll and hit your skill target. So, for instance, if you really want to hit a target, let's say you're rolling against a skill in which you've only got 20%, you roll a 60, so you're going to fail, but this is something you really want to succeed on. You could spend 40 luck to knock your die roll all the way down to 20 and succeed. But that means you are running out of luck, quite literally, because luck is a very fluid currency in Call of Cthulhu. And again, it's not a revolutionary system. Things like fate points, luck points, moxie, whatever, you know, they flux, they exist in all kinds of games. But it really creates that nice gambling element of Call of Cthulhu I enjoy, where it does literally feel like you're running out of luck. And your character ends up out of luck. So, we have now our skills. So skills are determined in a rather simple way. We have... oh, I'll actually tell you how some of these other traits were calculated. For instance, damage bonus and build. Damage bonus is down as none, but your damage bonus is basically calculated based on your strength and your size. You add your strength and your size together, and the ultimate result you end up with impacts whether you have a damage bonus. Now, this person theoretically could have had a damage bonus due to the epic nature of his size, but his strength brings that average down, and therefore no damage bonus. Likewise, hit points are calculated through a combination of constitution and size divided by 10. So in this case, con plus size divided by 10. And you round it, and then we have a movement rate, which is also a trait that is calculated based on other stats. It is all in that character creation chapter of Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, but it's very easy to do, and honestly, if you use the basic auto-calc sheet that I am, you can just, well, not have to worry about the mathematics. So now we have a character's age. As this character is 32, they're going to make an improvement check for education. So an improvement check in Call of Cthulhu, and this is what you do instead of experience points, is as you use things during the course of the game, use your skills for instance, you will put a tick next to them, such as I'm about to do with accounting. Now when the keeper calls upon you to do an improvement check, you then have to roll dice, and this is the only time in the game really where you are trying to roll above your skill rating rather than below it. Keep in mind that most skills are low, the things you are good at are high. Now, if you roll above the skill you have used, you're making an improvement check, and if you roll above it, you have improved it by a certain degree. If you roll below it, you haven't improved it. So basically it's harder to improve skills that you're already excellent at, because if I have a rating of 80, rolling above 80 is obviously harder or less likely than rolling above 20, for instance. There we go. And as a character between the ages of 20 and 39 gets to make one improvement check on education. So we make a percentile die roll. I'll get my 2d10. And if the result is greater than present education, which is 65, I add 1d10 percentage points to the education characteristic. So this might change things. I rolled a 30. So no, no improvement check on education. It stays where it is. So, we now determine occupation. And occupation is going to help us work out what skills this person is going to have access to at the start of the game. Now, Antiquarian is basically what an archaeologist is at this point. The field of archaeology is very much new in the 1920s and the prior 30 years, much like psychology. Many of these pioneering sciences, of course. So we'll treat him as an antiquarian from the suggested skills list. So we have appraise. We're going to tick these to remind ourselves that these are occupation skills. Art/craft, any. I think we will put him down for sculptures because it works well. Actually, let's put him down as jewellery. Or jewels. I think that works. History. There we go. Forgot my alphabet for a second there. Library use. Other language. I think it just comes down as language. Yeah, other. So we'll have to choose which one. One interpersonal skill. Charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade. Hello, Chaos RCTM. What should we say he has as an interpersonal skill? Charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade? What are the audience thinking at this point? Is this guy going to be charming? Is he going to be sort of whip charming like Indiana Jones? Is he going to be fast talk so he can haggle his way out of a situation and confuse people? Is he intimidating, a bit of a bully? Or maybe he's just persuasive. Fast talk makes sense if he's on the black market. I agree, Cloud64. I think that makes a lot of sense given the character we've been speaking about. Yeah, a lot of people are saying fast talk. Fast talk it is. Wonderful. Spot hidden. This is clearly a character tailor-made for Call of Cthulhu. And with library use and spot hidden. And any one other skill that relates to the profession. So let's have a look at the skills that are on display here. Anthropology could work. We could put a different art or craft as well. If he's a bit of an adventurous type, putting something like climb in might make sense. Now, our player did suggest that he wanted the character to have a bit of fighting ability. But I don't really see that as a professional skill. Even if the character is good at it, we can leave that later for personal skills. We could choose another one of the interpersonal skills, like persuasion. Natural world might make sense as well, or locksmith for breaking into places. What are the people in the gallery thinking? Sleight of hand as well, he's a thief. Occult. Occult makes sense, very much so, in fact, given the original concept that the player suggested of being a esoterica, eventual spellcaster. Language, if he's looking for antiquities, yeah, could go for another language. But again, I would say probably because this person's self-taught, having more than one other language might be tricky. Oh, everyone is suggesting things now. We've got fast talk, locksmith, sleight of hand, listen. Occult might be good considering he's into that magic, as of the start of the session anyway. This is a character who hasn't got that experience before the session starts. So we've got charm as well being suggested. Lots of good ideas here. I think we will go for occult. Occult. Okay, so Antiquarian credit rating is between 30 and 70. So let's see what it's going to be. Well, I'll assign points to that after we've assigned everything else. Occupation skill points is education times 4. So education times 4 is going to be, what? 260 points. 260 points in skills. Now, that always sounds like a lot. When you assign occupation points, you think 260 or any figure above 100, that's a hell of a lot of points to spend. It quickly runs out. Bearing in mind that most rolls you make, you're going to want to get 50% or less, you know, because it's a 1 in 100 chance of succeeding, in a sense. So you want the skills you're really good at to be rated at higher than 50% to give you the chance of success. So we've got 260 points. I hope I calculated that correctly. I believe I did. So let's see. I think, oh, you know what? Damn it, I'm going to take it out of Occult. I didn't put it in Archaeology. Stupid. Stupid of me. Well, you know what? We're going to start off with Archaeology, and we're going to put 60 of our 260 points in Archaeology. Makes sense. He doesn't have to be the best archaeologist in the world, but he is better than average. In fact, I'd say he probably isn't a great archaeologist. He is ultimately a thief. So we'll keep in mind sleight of hand for his personal skills. So we've got 200 points left. Appraise or art craft. I think he's better at appraising the value of something than creating them himself. So at the very least, we're going to put 50 in appraise, so he knows the value of something. So we are now down to 150 occupation points. I told you they go down quickly. Fast talk, again, we know that he is a bit of a talker, so we'll put 50 in fast talk as well. Now, we will add these to the automatic ratings after we're done, to give ourselves a little treat. So what? We are now down to 100 points. Could split it between history and language and pretty much leave it there as another 50-50. And then we could top it up with some of our personal skill points. Because we said he's not really an academic, this guy, so I think leaving library use with nothing in and spot hidden with nothing in might work. But, you know what, I'm feeling like putting 25 there. We will put 25 in spot hidden as well, and that leaves 50 to go in language other. And as I said, Egyptology is very much a thing right now. We're going to say ancient Egyptian. Actually, let's be broader than that. We will go for basically he knows Arabic of the time. So we will now add the default ratings that are present. So that becomes 55. This becomes 61. Fast talk becomes 55. History becomes 30. Language, other, 51. Spot hidden becomes 50. So, yeah. Okay, and now we can untick all of these, because we will want to tick them during gameplay to remind us when we're actually using them. So, next thing is we didn't actually put anything in credit rating. So that means he's going to start with a default of 30 in credit rating, which is the lowest for antiquarians. He has clearly not been a successful black marketeer in the recent time. So now that that is done, we are on to his personal skills, his personal interests, which is calculated by doing his intelligence multiplied by 2. And as his intelligence is 80, that means he has 160 points in personal skills, skills of personal interest. So I hand it over to you, the gallery, to say, of those 160 points, where should we put them? Should we top up some of his existing skills? Or should we start assigning them elsewhere to other skills that might be of interest? So obviously we've got his fighting. I don't really see this guy as much of a fighter, I've got to be honest. The more I'm thinking about it, he is a bit of a weaselly thief. Who, even by the fact that his strength is so low but his size is so high, he's probably quite an imposing, I think Mark referred to him as a gaunt Indiana Jones. He's probably quite tall and looming. We might want to put points in Intimidate then. But yeah, Survival might be handy, getting him Sleight of Hand might be good. I'll tick the ones that people are suggesting. Survival, Sleight of Hand, Stealth, Occult. That's true. I mean, we're going to be hard-pressed to spread this 160 points between all of these to any meaningful degree. First Aid, to avoid unwanted questions. I don't see First Aid playing into this one. Law, because he had a bad experience with the law. Now, while I think that could be useful, I don't think that he's necessarily going to be up on the, I guess, academic theory of law. He just knows not to break it. So I appreciate a couple of people are suggesting it, though, but I disagree on that one. Intimidation makes sense to get out of minor trouble. Track for following and stealing from other archaeologists. Very nice. Does he want hand-to-hand fighting? He hasn't suggested that he does, but one of his original character concepts was playing some kind of bounty hunter or assassin, which I said doesn't really work within the 1920s mundane Call of Cthulhu setting. But that doesn't mean he can't necessarily handle himself at least slightly well. Anyway, I think we've got enough skills now to look at. I'm just going to quickly scan through the rest of these to see whether any of the others would make a great deal of sense. You'll see we're not topping up any of his other existing skills. No library use, so he's clearly not... Dodge. Well, Dodge, because it's half dex, he's already going to have 27 in it. So we'll put 27. Firearm, so you get a few shots in at a distance. With a handgun, you might be right there. Locksmith, yeah, I'd say dodge is probably more important than punching in this case. I agree, Mark. Locksmith makes sense for breaking into places. I don't think any of the others work. So we've got 160 points to spend here. Therefore, I don't think any of these really need to be remarkably high, but I'm tempted to put... I really like the idea of him having track. He's essentially a vulture, an archaeologist vulture. He follows other archaeologists and steals from them. So if we put 40 in track, we'll remember to add that 10% at the end. And after that, we could put sleight of hand, which is another 40. We'll put that other 10%. A lot of people are suggesting law. I see the skill as more his ability to practice law than his ability to recognise when he's breaking the law. I think he knows he's stealing. He's by no means stupid. He knows that he's stealing. So I don't think he needs the points in law. I can't see an occasion where the player is ever going to have to use it. That's the thing. I want him to have skills that he might actually use. So we've spent 80 of our 160 points, so we've got another 80 to go. It makes sense to have some occult. He has only just stepped onto this lovely wheel of occult, so let's only put 20 in there. Library use does make sense for collecting information about artifacts. You are right. Now, I've kind of put that into his archaeology, which I'm tempted now to reduce. Occult isn't actually Cthulhu mythos. As Cloud64 saying, players often go occult, and though it adds colour, it's not that useful other than saying, nope, not like anything I've seen before. But the player wants an occult leaning. Dodging does make sense, so let's add another 20 there. So now he is on 47. So we have now spent 80, 100, 120 of our 160. We have 40 left to go. People are suggesting Persuade. There's Intimidate, Locksmith, Stealth, Survival, so many choices. I think Stealth makes a certain amount of sense. I think if we start him on the forging path, James, as you're suggesting, that it's going to... we're not going to have enough points to make it worthwhile, if that makes sense. So let's put 20 in stealth, because that's going to bump up to 40. And that leaves us with 20 more. Do we put it in Locksmith, Persuade, or Intimidate? I think that is the question. Or do we top another one of his skills? Yeah, top off the rest of the skills. His skills are spread out as they are. You are right. So let's make some of his other skills a little more impressive. So let's put Sleight of Hand up by 5. We will put... let's think. Dodge up by 5. Let's put the last 10 in Locksmith. You're right. Okay. Now, as we've done this, it's made me think, you know, as pointed out, he is very well... he's pretty balanced. He doesn't have any skills that are rocketing into the stratosphere right now, does he? And that means that half the time he's going to succeed, half the time he's going to fail. And this is the point in character creation where you start thinking about how playable this character is. It's going to be, yeah, he is very much the Indiana Jones bad guy at this point. Is it going to be fun to fail half the time? No. So this is where you have to start really... Thank you, Frank Drebin, for the comment. I'm the Locksmith, and I'm the Locksmith. So yeah, we need to make something slightly better than they are. And the first thing that I'm thinking of that could probably go down to make something else go up is his archaeology, in fact. Because I don't believe in min-maxing, or I don't really think that's so much of a thing anymore. But at the same time, I don't want to put a huge amount of points in a skill that isn't going to see frequent use. And so while he is an archaeologist, it is his profession, it makes sense. He is also not the most academic and learned of archaeologists. He's more of a thief than anything else. So I'm going to take 20 out of archaeology and put it into one of his other potential profession skills that we were looking at that will probably be a little more useful. And I'm going to put it into... I think we're going to put it in fast talk. He is a better talker than we initially anticipated. So we've lowered his archaeology. He is no longer as learned than as we thought. His language, I think, makes sense. His appraise skill. Now, appraise is probably another one we could risk lowering by 15 points. Maybe, or by 5 points. Well, let's lower it by 5. Actually, no. We'll make him better than average at appraisal. No, we didn't put anything in his art and craft Cloud 64 because he's good at appraising things. He's just not very good at making them. I think is basically he has no skill with his hands. He knows value, but he is not a craftsman himself. So, yeah. What else can we change here? I'm thinking of the last skills that we haven't covered. Yeah, he doesn't have a great credit rating, so he could lose some in appraise. So he has delivered some bunk to his clients from time to time. No, I don't think he has ever dabbled in forgery will before, so he isn't a forger. I think that for him is a completely different skill set. He might work with forgers, but he in himself is a thief. And so we could probably change... I'm going to put lower track slightly and put that in sleight of hand. So he is now a far more effective thief. Now, this doesn't look very impressive right now, but now you wait, because we need to add, we'll start taking these ticks away, the automatic ratings that were in each of these. And watch as they go up. Now, was there anything else that I chose at this point that I did not increase, that I didn't tick? No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. All right then. Nice and easy. So yeah, I don't think, and by all means, people who watch this, if you feel I'm cheating the character in some way or the player, if I missed one of the skills that I needed to increase, please tell me, but I think I've managed to keep up with everything. So yeah, what this guy has ended up as is actually a very fast talker. He can probably haggle people out of things and probably lower the price of things pretty effectively. He can probably convince someone that, no, that thing on the market's worthless. Like, I'll pay you a couple of, I don't know, drachma for it because he's in Greece right now. And yeah, I'll be doing you a favour taking it off your hands. That's what he does with the fast talk. He takes it and then he sells it for more, or he gives it to his donor, his benefactor. We have sleight of hand at an effective degree because he is able to steal things from other people. And Locksmith is something he is working on. I imagine he probably works with someone else who actually does the breaking into the tombs. And maybe he's just very good at getting them over borders, stealing literally from pockets and things like that. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that spread. His spot hidden is on a nice balanced 50, so that means half the time he is going to see what he's looking for. That's good. And he is developing his abilities in stealth and track. I can well see them seeing improvements during the course of the game. So what else do we have here that's remarkable? He can speak above average Arabic, which is actually a really useful trait if your game is set in any Arabic country. But more than that, it allows you to translate documents, and that can come in handy in Call of Cthulhu. So I would say the biggest discrepancy for me right now is probably his credit rating, because it implies he's not being paid very much for all of his thievery. I would say, on the contrary, he probably is being paid much, but he probably spends it. He spends like a sailor, as they say. So now we get into backstory. And we are going to go through, first of all, ideology and beliefs. This is randomly rolled, so let's see what his ideology and beliefs. Oh, and personal description. We've got him as some kind of Ichabod, crane-looking, tomb-robbing bastard. Yeah, he's not a very good gambler. Nick says, happy the shelf is back. I don't think the shelf went anywhere. I mean, it's the thing I'm not showing you is all the gaps in the shelf right now, because I sold off so many things recently. So, ideology and beliefs. He believes in, number 4, a belief in fate, karma, the class system, or superstitious. So, he believes in fate. I think he's superstitious. He's recently become superstitious due to an occult artifact he handled. There we go. Alright then, significant people. Is there a significant person in his life? A sibling, brother, half-brother, stepsister. What do you think, everybody? He has a significant sibling? Any kind of suggestions here for what his relationship with his sibling should be? Don't suggest some kind of Giovanni perversion. We don't need that in the first session involving this character. He wouldn't be very kind. So, yeah, we know he has a significant sibling. A little sister, a half-brother, younger brother. Everyone's suggesting things, but I need reasons. I can think of lots of different sibling types. But rather than just, we have partner in crime. An overbearing mother. See, that's what I like, because now we start getting description. Overbearing. Or, you could have disabled, protective big brother, maybe his partner in crime, private collector. There we go. We might have a little brother there trying to acquire funds to send back home, explains his credit rating and him needing to go to all the lengths to get money. That right there is perfect. Polly, we're going to go with that. A little brother is trying to fund explaining Alexander's... Oh, I misspelled Alexander. Alexander's poor credit rating. And criminal misdeeds. Misdeeds. Alright then. So now we have meaningful locations. What meaningful location do we have? Oh, next you roll to determine why that person is so significant. We're not going to do that. We're just going to roll the meaningful location because we've already worked it out. Meaningful location is 2, your hometown. So London hometown is meaningful. Alexander. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Wyo, his brother is ill. Since the Great War. There you go. Let's tie it into the era. Or the Spanish flu. Let's tie it into a pandemic, because everyone wants to deal with them in role-playing games right now. So, treasured possessions. Yes! Let's be much more specific, Cloud64. Let's go for the British Museum. The British Museum and sparked his interest in archaeology. Bit of shrapnel to the knee, plays up in the cold. Treasured possessions now. Number 3, a memento from your childhood. Oh, what's the memento from Alexander's childhood that is really meaningful to him? Audience, again, gallery, it's up to you. What is he going to have about his person? A lucky find from one of his only legit archaeological digs. What's the other museum with all the spooky African stuff? Freaked me out as a kid. Dulwich. Yes, Dulwich Museum does have some weird and wonderful stuff in. Well, I say weird to the people of Dulwich. We'll go for the British Museum though, because I think the player is American and it's better to go for something that the world has heard about. Pocket watch from his father. That's a knight, and he's headed up his ass during the Great War. He was held prisoner of war by the Germans in Great War Colditz, and yeah, he had to keep his father's pocket watch up his ass. Right, a locket with his brother's picture, knucklebone that he used to play with his kid brother. Ooh, that's a bit morbid, Nephthys Nile. Yeah, okay. A knuckle... It's a bit morbid, isn't it? A knucklebone. We'll go for a knucklebone. Ah, no, see, Wyo, I think that is a 2 on the nose. The grandfather's pocket watch, since his grandfather told him stories about elder gods. So I'm going to go for... I like it, but no. We'll go for a knucklebone. He used to play with his brother. And then we have traits. Roll 1d10 to see what his trait is. 10. He is ambitious. I think that makes sense. A piece of jewellery that he has to fix occasionally, hence his minimal jewellery, arts and craft. Everyone's obsessed with him having more points in arts and craft. Anyway, his trait is that he's ambitious, and that means he wants to achieve a goal, become the boss, have it all. Ambitious. How does his ambition manifest, do you think? Because I don't think he wants to be known as the most reputable archaeologist in the industry, because that ship has sailed for Alexander. So yeah, how does his ambition manifest as a black marketeer and tomb robber? That is the question. He wants one good find. Maybe he wants to actually find something. He just doesn't have the capacity to do so. So he wants to... Yeah, he wants to discover something that will enable him to retire. That's not ambition, is it? Discover something that enables you to retire. I suppose it is. It's not really accolades, is it? That will enable him to retire. No. He wants to discover something that will have him taken seriously by the community, by the academics, because he isn't one, and maybe he's very bitter. Yeah, all right. Make his name in history. Well, I think this will work. That works as that. So yeah, that is pretty much it, I think. So yeah, we don't need to roll anything else. Everything else will be filled in by the player. But that is Alexander, our rogue archaeologist. We have created a Call of Cthulhu 7th edition character now. And I think that pretty much covers it. Are we running Call of Cthulhu for this group tonight? We already have 3 players. This will be our 4th in this group, and that will be the limits on this particular grouping. And yeah, that's very true. In the 2020s, no one will retire from this point on, unfortunately. Unless you have a long-serving military job, Mark, in which case... Well, in this country, anyway. But anyway, I think we are pretty much done with Alexander. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I hope that's been helpful, because if anyone wants to know how easy it is to create a Call of Cthulhu character, now you can see how to do it. And yeah, next time we will probably be creating a character for a different game. And you never know. If it's a game you want me to create a character for, then please back on the Patreon or send me some money via MatthewDawkins.com. There's a buy me a cup of tea on there. If you want to know how much for my time, just use the contact button. I am more than happy to create a character for any game, largely as long as there's some kind of automated character sheet like this or fillable PDF. That really helps, honestly, because it means it's a visual experience for people as well. And yeah, Falana, you said the sheet intimidates you. It is as easy as this. I think the trick is not to get intimidated by the sheer number of skills and just focus on the fact that most characters are only good at a few things. In this case, this guy's very good at fast talking, sleight of hand, dodging, appraising value. Those are his specialities. The reason you are a part of a group of investigators is because other people will fill in the gaps that you aren't great at handling. So I would do a video like this for D&D, Scarred Lands, asks Ratbag, but again, that's something someone would have to request. Someone would have to put in a request, get in touch with me via the website. I can point you to my tariff, essentially, because this takes about an hour of my time. And yeah, it's inexpensive really to just do one video like this, but yeah, get in touch with me, and if you want me to create a character for a certain game, I will do so. And yeah, we will then be away and making characters for any game you like. If there's a game on my shelves that particularly appeals to you, you want to see a character made for it, then just say. And on that note, I will end my stream. So thank you very much everyone for watching, and I hope you have a lovely weekend.